Welcome to the Niagara Learning Channel. This site is an Everyone Active site, and I'm currently bringing in all the points via BACnet, so they've all been brought into the Niagara Tridium controller on site, and I've brought them from there via the Niagara network into the cloud supervisor that Everyone Active uses for looking at all their sites. And I'm now in the process of not knowing what I'm doing here because I'm talking. I'm now in the process of making the graphics for them on the site. It had an old Trend 963, so all the trend points were brought in via BACnet, and like I said, they're going back to the cloud, and then we're doing the graphics on the cloud for them so they can log in. There's two logins, one for read only and one for read and write, and that's what I'm on at the moment. So as normal, I'm bringing in over, there's only 3 outstations, as you can see here: MCC1 outstation 11, 12 and MCC2 pool. I'm just working on MCC1 outstation 11 at the moment and doing my normal, putting all the points on there. So these are all the points, so these are all the sensors, all the inputs here, all the outputs here, the switches and the adjustments, the knobs are all here. I'm just currently putting in the pop-up histories for all these. So I'm going to do a few of these and then put you on pause, just so you can see how I do this chart. I'm going to do this one. I don't know why that's a minus, but it is. So I'm still going to display it because it's will be required somewhere along the line. Plus kit pop-up, control key C, control key V, default chart. So I've got all these to still do up here for the temperatures. So when they click on this temperature, it will bring a pop-up of the graph for the temperatures. Let me show you what I mean. Chart, okay, okay. So click on this temperature here, and it brings up a pop-up, and it looks like there's hardly any data there for that, but it means the temperature has not changed. So let's bring in one that would have changed, like that one there, and we'll do it to last 7 days. So you can see what the temperature was, temperature kilowatt hours is there at 2:19 on the 12th of August and 7:19 13th of August. So anyway, I think I've done that temperature. I haven't. So was it that one that I did? I did. Kit pop-up, control key C, control key V, chart. Now let me just take that out of edit mode, and let's just show you around a bit. I've done no graphics yet. Well, I did one, but I haven't put any points on it yet. So my first thing that I always do is bring in everything and change the text and the display ready to put straight onto a graphic. One of the graphics I did was this one here, which is the AHU Cafe Reception Office, but I still got to put the bits on there at the moment. Can I show you the trend graphic? I presume I can. Let me just put you on pause while I find it. So this is the trend graphic for the AHU that they had previously. So we've got the bypass there. They're basically bringing in air from outside there, and they can heat it and supply it back out, or they can chuck it to the outside. And we've also got this damper here, so I don't know whether that's at 60% for these. I doubt it. I think that would be 60% for the damper, but I'd have to go onto the go and look. But it will be obvious once I bring the points in what the bypass damper is. And just got a heating coil, frost protection, and some fans. And I've just done exactly the same, really. I presume I could have got rid of this lot here and put that across there, which I still may do yet. I don't know. Time schedulers, not that many time schedulers. I haven't done anything yet for the meters, the dance studio. Like I said, I'm still just bringing in the points. I've done nothing for the boilers. All I've done is the home, the schedulers, and started just putting a graphic on for that. Right, so I'm going to carry on with these points. So I'll put you on pause while I finish these. Right, so I've put the pop-ups on all these now. I only started this site yesterday, so I've now got to bring in all the others on outstation 12 now. So it's always a good idea once you've done a few is to actually just come out of edit mode and save it, just in case you lose connection. Not that you would lose connection on a cloud server, but you never know. Your connection could go, your internet connection to it could go down, so it's always a good idea to do a few, save, do some more, save. That way, if you do lose, you don't lose a lot of time if you do lose your work. Just to show you, on the BACnet points, I have actually put a history on every single point coming in, as well as alarms, because you've got to understand you've got your trend IQ3 system or IQ4 system that's going to a Tridium Niagara controller, which is just collecting the points to then send it via Niagara. So on the Tridium Niagara controller, I will put the alarms for each point that requires an alarm, and every sensor I will put a history on. In fact, I mostly do it for all the inputs as well, not that you need to, but if someone at a later date says, well, this pool CT pump, when did it fail? I can actually have a look at the history for that and know when the flow failed. The Niagara part of it is all here. So this on the left hand side, it's not this side, not that one, this side here. So this is MCC1, so you can see I've just mimicked the points, and then I've put sensors in there, inputs, drivers, switches and set points. Now I've got to do the same with this one here now and put these all on the page. Let's show you the controller itself. Let me just put you on pause. So this is the controller. It's a QNX Titan controller, and we're bringing in via the back network all the points for the system. So the sensors there, inputs, set points, drivers and switches. But what I do with this Let me just arrange all that lot. And just expand that a bit. What I do with each sensor, as you can see, I've put a numeric. So all I do there is I do a change of tolerance 1. So that's probably why the tanks, these cold water tanks, has not changed. It'd be around the same temperature. It's got to have a 1 degree change before it will actually register a history. And I do that for all the temperatures, all the sensors, and like I said, I do it for all the inputs as well. So if we go down to an input, you will find that I've already put a Boolean change of value there. But I've added an alarm to anything that's got an alarm, a high limit. So you won't find an alarm in the run. You still find a Boolean change of value, but there again you find an alarm in the boiler fault. And that's just from your alarm palette down here. Alarm palette. And you've got your out of range there. You've got your Boolean change of state alarm there. And you just drag them underneath there. And then you can set them to what you want. You can put some text in. I just go alarm, healthy, and fault, and that way I can just copy and paste it into all the others that require I mean, I could change the text for like this one, boiler fault, and say boiler fault or boiler 1 fault, but I don't, because with the text will already tell you that it's a fault there, gas fired boiler 1 fault. So I normally don't bother about that. Now the schedulers, you can't really bring in schedulers via BACnet. So what I do here on the controller, here we go, here's the schedulers. So I put what we call a status demux there, and I link it to the server, and all that is linking to, in the Niagara network, the server it's going to. So if the server is healthy, you get a false there. If the server is actually faulty, i.e. there's no signal to it, that will go to a true. And what we do here with this one is we put this to a true, so that this time clock, which is on the trend, will always show enable. So while we've got no connection, we're enabling all the time clocks. When we've not got a connection, when we've not got a connection, we're enabling the time clocks. When we've got the connection, we will use the time clock from the cloud server that we've done, and it will pass that information through. So it would disable itself at night time if it's required. One of them will be 24/7, which will be the pool time control. You never stop the pool. You never want to stop the pool heating. But the other areas you can stop when it's actually not working, when it's out of times. So that's how we do that. The reason I do this here as well, this Boolean, is that gets sent via BACnet to the controller, and the person who's writing the logic knows that we can use the time clocks there. Server is online, and when it goes to offline, he knows he's got to use the time clocks that's in the station. It's the only way that I know of doing via BACnet, because you're going from a IQ3 BACnetting to a Tridium Niagara, Niagara networking from the Tridium Niagara to the cloud, and they want to control the time clocks on the cloud. Now, if we had something like an IQ Vision system, and we was directly talking to the IQ3s or IQ4 controllers, that's a different ball game. But we're not. We're going via BACnet, so that gets a little bit more, not complicated, but you need to make sure that these BACnet points here and this point here and these points here are actually on the relevant stations. MCC1 outstation 11, for example, MCC1 outstation 12, and MCC2. And then they write the logic so that while this server is online, then they will use the time clock enables from these Boolean writables. While the server is offline, they will use the existing time clock that's set up in the controller. I think that makes sense. Yeah, so that's the time clocks, but basically being brought in from the cloud. And that is about it, I think, for this. Like I said, I've got the other points to do now, and on the cloud. So all this is completed now. The alarms that's generated goes to the cloud. That's in services. I want alarm service, don't I? Alarm service. There. So this is the station recipient, which is the cloud. And this is just a console, which I put in there. And as we can see, you can see the CT pump 2 fault. Look at that, it's 56. So it's been on and off for quite a bit, and the flow fails there. So we've got something to look at there, or the engineer has at a later date. Acknowledge that. But all alarms from the cloud will be sent to the client, so the client will know of these issues with this building CT pump 2 being in fault, and eventually it will go healthy again. I don't know the logic of the trend, so I can't. All I'm doing is bringing in the points and displaying the points, and of course making the adjustments which will go back to the trend via BACnet. Another thing with BACnet is on your local device here, your BAC network, make sure that you put in the export table the points that you are wanting the trend controllers to see. And as you can see, they're in the exported objects. So he can go via BACnet and bring them objects back into his trend controllers. Right, I'm going to go back to doing outstation 12. So let me just put you on pause. So outstation 11 I've finished with. So now we start with all the points. Another thing I do, because the spaces, when you bring the BACnet inputs in, I basically change the spaces to underscores, and any special characters I will change. So if someone's used a percent sign, I will actually put in the word percent, so that when I bring all the points in and I'm doing the histories to them, they don't look out of place with the special characters. Right, what I'm going to do here is, because I know they've got quite a few points here that will fill this up, i.e. when I'm bringing him in, I need to make this slightly larger, just for now. Let's just take that out, because that's going to make it a little bit better. And then I'm going to take all these points, all these sensors, and I'm going to bring them into here. Now, everyone's going to have a history on them, so I'm going to go iStatus to simple, background, and when I do a history I always have the background as a very light green. So I'm going to put these in now globally as such, bringing the points in. I always use the border groove, and foreground, I'm going to animate the foreground, status to simple, foreground. So basically if it's in an alarm it will change it white, otherwise it'd be black. And then I'm going to click on the mouse over because I know everyone is going to have a mouse over, and we're going to have a pop-up here. And I want to make display label name so I know what each one is. Go OK. Now I'm going to change the text to 16 so we can see it a little bit better instead of the default 12. And then and highlight them all and spread them out a bit so we can see what the text is. That would do for me. Bear in mind this is just for engineering use really only. I will eventually put them on the graphic. And if you see me do this before, you will see that I normally make a copy and use a copy. I thought I have got snap on. It's alright, it just feels like it's not snapping to the grid, but so that's the sensors done, apart from me having to individually put the pop-ups for each one of these. So now we go to inputs. I don't put the pop-ups on the inputs. Yes, I put history on, but I don't put the pop-ups on the inputs. That'll just be too much work. Now, there's lots of different, some are filters, so all these are going to be false and true at the moment. But my main point at the moment is actually getting it onto the page. Background, leave that as it is. Foreground, animate. Foreground. Now, anything that's off can actually have a green on it because it's probably going to be off for healthy. So what I'm just going to do here is put the green symbol there, the green colour. So if it's false, it would be green. And then it'd be black when it's true. Some of them will want changing. We'll give it a border again, the groove. We're not doing mouse over this time, and the display label. Go OK. And then edit it. Change the font to 16. And then let's space these out a bit so we can see the text of what they all are. That may be too much, but let's just put that underneath there. So we'll bring it across to the same as that. And then take it from there, bring it up to there. Looks like I'm not going to have enough space here on this one, because if I bring them up there, we're going to get, yeah, it overlapping here. So I either make the page wider for this particular page, which would probably be the best way of doing it. Edit. So we'll put that to 1, 2, 4 for the moment. That's too much. That's too much. Man, it all depends on what we've got for the other points. Drivers, have we got a lot of drivers? Oh yes, we have. Switches, not so many. Set points. Let's see how it goes anyway. Drivers, let's bring in the drivers. I'm just wondering, I'll bring in these drivers first, just the booleans. Background animate. iStatus again. Background. Okay. Foreground animate. iStatus. Foreground. So this is going to be off and on type of thing. So what we can do there, we can't do it that way because we want it to be green when it's on. So cancel that and foreground, just animate it and put that to green when it's on. There's no alarms here on there, so we're not interested in the it changing white. Give it a border, groove, and that would do me for now. Edit, change it to 16. The false and the true, see the false and the trues there. I can actually do enabled and disabled, so I'm going to delete what I've done there. Believe me, it's easier doing it this way in a group. So start again with the iStatus to simple, background always the same, the border always the same. We did the foreground, that when it was enabled we said it would be green, and we're going to change the text on this one, unanimate, animate, and boolean to simple, and enable, disable. Now we'll bring that across and we'll change the text size, for font size, to 16, and then we can put that just underneath there. I don't think I've got snapping on, you know. It says I have, but I don't think I have. Right, now we'll do these drivers. Bring these across. Animate. iStatus to simple. Background. Border. So I was just thinking ahead what I'm going to do with the foreground. I'm going to go animate that. Minus inf. Plus inf. 1. Green. Done that, done that, done that. Text stays the same. Bring that across. Edit the properties. Font 16. As you can see, when it's got a value, it's green now. And when it hasn't got a value, it's black. So we are going to have to widen that page even more, aren't we? Definitely. So let's just move that out of the way for the moment. Snap's working now. switches. Now I'm going to make my own switches as such, so all I'm wanting here is to bring them across. I'm not going to put backgrounds in or anything, I'm just going to bring it straight across and just change it to 16 for the font size, because we will be editing them, and we'll be bringing in a different from the PX page. Let me show you what I mean. PX, Kit PX palette, and we bring in an action button. So I'll be using an action button for them and switches, and the same for the set points. I'll be using an action button, so I don't need to do anything with these really, only bring them in. So we've got them, don't need to do the backgrounds or anything like that, but what I do need to do is the text. So edit the font to 16. Okay, okay, and bring them across there. So let's just take out that bottom now, edit, and put that back to 1. I will be bringing this in once I've finished sizing all this lot up. Let's just do that now. Let's just bring that across there. Let's see what we've got here with the width. Bit more. Bit more. Right. I think we're going to leave that as it is. Yeah, so this page is going to be a slightly wider than the others. Let's just see whether this snapping works now. That's too far across there. And take that. Yeah, the snapping's working now. Bring that across to there. Probably too much. That's the problem there. Bring that across 1 there. And then I can bring that across to there. I better do the same with these. That to there. In fact, I'm just going to bring that in more. All them true and falses will need changing to what they are, i.e. healthy for this one here, healthy, and fault. I'll do them in a bit. That's just, the snapping wasn't working, but I just disabled it and enabled it, and it's now working again. So I'm not too sure why that was, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I think we are ready to do some editing. Right, bring that down to there. And then I've got this lot to edit now. I'll put in the switches. So what I would normally do is I would take a switch that I've already done and copy and paste it, but I think I need to show you how to do one of these. So we start with the switch. Control key C. So I'm taking the point from there. I'm going to put it into here, and I'm going to select a set component chooser. So switch and the set there. Then I'm going to go plus value binding. Paste it in there without the set. And I'm going to go text animate. We switch. So this is just a standard. I don't think these switches are actually working, so I'm just going to leave them normal and don't put any text in there. So there we will animate it. Value. The background. Animate. And this time we're still going to put in the background, but because it's a switch, I'm going to put a grey background. That's what I use for switches, and I use yellow, this yellow here, for the knobs. Change the text, forgot that. Font, change it to 16. And then delete that one and put this in its place. And that's one done for that. Let's do one for the supply fan, the adjustment for that. So again, it's still an action button. You could have just copied this one here, but we'll do it from scratch. Take the supply fan speed, Control key C, paste it into here, Control key V. That's interesting. I've got my, see these .20s, that's spaces. Why have the bells been, I could have missed that then on the, I didn't put underscores. That's not good. I didn't put underscores on there. I can't have that like that. I've got to do the underscores. Right, so let's just save that there. Do I do it on the station, or do I just do it here? I'll just do it here. Rename, space, underscore. Done. So that means now all these are going to not be seen now, because I've changed the way it's looking at it. Right, so I'm going to have to bring them back in again now. See how they've all gone? We can leave that as it is, but I'll bring in them. Animate. No, I don't need to animate because I'm making a new one. So just, I don't need the display name this time. I just need them points back in again. And I'm not even bothered that it's 16 because this one's going to be, but I'll change them to 16 anyway, just so that I can see them a bit better. Right, take that again now. Control key C. Paste it into there. Control key V. And then we need to set component chooser. I would normally just type set at the end. And then plus value binding, Control key V, paste it in there. Text, animate, out, value. Now the background, different background this time. It's still outstations to simple background, but now I'm putting in the yellow because it's a set point, it is adjustment. Yeah, the other's a switch, but I'll show you the reason why. Because we have what we call a key up at the top that the client can look at. I need to change my font to 16. Once you've done one, you can just copy and paste. That's what I normally do. I wouldn't just do it individually for each one and go through all this. So that's that done. So all I would do before now is duplicate that, get the 40 hertz there, Control key C, and this is how I do it without looking for the set. I just paste it in there, / and I type set in. I just find it easier. And that's it, that's that one done. Delete, move that across to there. And I normally do them all in one row and then I delete them all and then just move them across. Right, the reason for the colours, I come out of edit mode there and go to this key here, is I use this colour grey for a switch and I use that for a set point. And I haven't actually put in the green background on this to say that it's clickable for history, but I think the mouse over explains that. Not that we've got any history points done at the moment for this. Right, I'm going to carry on doing all this. I'm going to put you on pause because it's pointless. It's repetitive work, so it's pointless you watching me do this. So I'll put you on pause for now. In fact, should I end the video? It's 42 minutes into the video. I'll probably end the video and do another video when I'm starting on the graphics. Alright, thank you for watching.